Hello, this is Joe. Welcome back to the channel. Well, good day and welcome back. And you caught me in the middle of starting a repair job, and I promised you that I would let you know before I started, and I didn't. I started without you. I'll get you caught up here. Well, so this is the tan Olivetti Studio 44, the one with the broken carriage return lever mechanism. And let me get the body shell. So I've already removed the body shell, 4 screws with their rubber bushings, move the carriage all the way to the left, and then you can lift up the right side and pull it off to the left like that. Don't knock over the alcohol. And the reason why I went ahead and took the body shell off is because I got a package in the mail the other day from TB Writers Plus. This is a typewriter sales and service shop in Ohio, and I contacted them because they had the part I needed for the carriage return lever arm. And so I've started looking at this and trying to figure out how am I going to replace that part in the carriage. So let me get you caught up here where we're at, what we got to do. Okay, so this is the new part. This right here is where the old part was sheared off. This is the shaft that goes down through that casting on the left side of the carriage. And then this is the tapered pin that attaches the shaft to this linkage here. And we're going to have to tap out this tapered pin from the back side and remove it in order to install this. So in the front here is this little opening here is where we can see that tapered pin. But to gain access to it, I need to remove this frame member, or this panel here. I've already done so. It's held on by 4 screws. The 2 screws in the middle are shorter, and the 2 screws on the end are longer. And it's important to point out that the 2 outer screws, the long ones, also secure this bracket in place. This bracket is for the front of the carriage. This is the bearing race. The front bearing rides on the bottom of this channel here, so when you take these 2 screws out on the ends, put them back in, don't move the carriage until you put these back in and secure it. That way the carriage can still move adequately. So here we have the pin, but you might notice that I have to get to the back side of it to be able to try tapping out the pin so I can lift up the vertical shaft and remove the part. So in order to do that, I have to actually remove the platen. So the platen removal process is a little bit easier than it looks. It helps to have the manual. So first of all, I wanted to hold the shaft tight, and there is a set of flats in here, and a 5mm wrench will fit those pretty good. So I held the platen shaft from turning with a 5mm wrench on the left side. Then I happen to have an American Standard Imperial 9/16 inch wrench, whatever the metric equivalent to 9/16 is. I grabbed a hold of this nut here, and then I was able to turn both of those wrenches and eventually loosen this. So the way this works is you actually have the right hand knob with a short shaft unthreads from the platen. And on the left side, basically the same thing. You have to set the line spacing to the 0 position or the continuous, and just go ahead and unscrew it like that. And that shaft will unthread itself from the left side of the platen, and then you can raise up the platen and remove it. So there's a spring-loaded bracket right here. Just lower it a little bit, and then this will come right out. So I'm basically just moving this little bracket down slightly so that the sprocket on the end of the clutch here will release. And now looking through the back of the carriage with the platen removed, I can see the back side of that roll pin right here that I'm going to need to tap out. I'm going to have to get the right tools for this. So I have a punch that I got from my toolbox, and I'm hoping I can get the punch put in here properly and tap this out from this side. And it looks like it's not wanting to come out. maybe. Let's see here. Looks like it's sticking out further than it was. Ah, there we go. There is the pin. And I should be able to raise this, I hope. So you can see the bottom of this bracket. You can see the end of the shaft right there. So I'm going to have to tap out the shaft from underneath to get it unstuck from this arm. Okay, so I'm going to try to pound the pin out from underneath that bracket. See if I can get this out. Ah, there we go. Maybe. And there is the shaft. So here is the newer part, I should say the unbroken part. This would be the side of it where the pin sticks out. So I'm going to have to tap out this pin from the back side and then put the shaft down through the casting and put the pin back in. Okay, so this is the pin. The back side of it is here. So I'm going to tap it into this little hole in this wooden block, and that should hopefully brace the part sufficiently so we don't damage the new part. Let's see if I can do this. It's moving a little bit. Now I'm curious if I can use this tiny little Allen wrench, hex wrench. Yes, that works really nice. There's the pin, and there is the arm. We don't need that arm. We'll save it as a spare. So this tapered pin, as suggested by the name, this tapered pin is skinnier on one end than the other. So where it goes in on the front of the shaft is the thin end, tapered end in, like that. That's how it has to go in. Okay, it's partway in. Let's go with that larger punch that we thought we might use. Okay. Well, I think perfect is the enemy of good enough. I think that's in there. Okay, let's get this put back together and test it. Okay, so let's take off this tape. So I had taken out the metal paper pan, and I had also taken off the two rods with the feed rollers, and I basically cleaned the feed rollers with alcohol, since I had it out anyways. So I believe this side is the right side. Thread that in there. And then the left side, the tricky one. See if I can start that. There it goes. Left side finally caught. Right side. And there we go. Okay, let's put it on single line. Click, click. Okay, so let's attach the arm. So this is the original carriage return arm with the broken shaft bracket and the original screw. And this was the return arm that TB typewriters included with the part I needed. And looking at both return arms, you know, they're both very similar. but I think I'm going to use the one that TB Typewriters included because there's a little pitting on the original one here that's not on the replacement. So I'm going to use this replacement, but with the screw off the original bracket. Okay, so when I put in the original screw that was on the original arm, it wouldn't tighten down. The arm was loose. So I looked in the manual, and there is a part called a spring washer. So I looked back in the original arm, and inside the original arm was this felt washer. It was kind of dirty, greasy, so I took it out, cleaned it up. I put it on the shoulder of the screw, tried it again, and there's still too much play. The arm kind of has too much play. So what I did then instead is I found a little silicone O-ring, and I doubled up the silicone O-ring onto the shoulder of that screw, and it actually worked. I was able to use it and everything, but as you flip the return arm back to the stored position, it unscrews the screw. So it needs the actual spring washer, and I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm playing around right now with some little springs from my VCR parts kit from way back in the 1980s, and I have this one spring right here that I think is going to work. I'm going to try to install it and see what happens. Okay, so with that spring around the shoulder of the arm, it's able to flip back, the screw doesn't turn, and there's no wobble in this, and it works fine. So using a spring around that shoulder seems to be what it needed. Well, I got a couple things to do here. So I need to put the body panel back on the body shell and verify that this arm is not going to rub on the shell. That can happen when the arm starts to wear. This doesn't look too far worn. And what I've done in the past, if you do have that problem, is you can take a little thin piece of brass shim and you can glue it in this little joint here to raise the lever up a little bit. But for now, before I actually get the body back on, I want to test out the machine to make sure there's not any other problems, because if I have some adjustments or something I need to do to it, it's better to do that now with the body panels off, so I can, if I have to do an adjustment to on feeder motion or whatever, it's nice to do it before you take the machine apart. And it looks good. Yay. And we do have good clearance between the bottom of the carriage return arm and the ribbon cover. Hey, how do you like that? Well, there was a time there where I didn't think that I'd be able to do this job, but really the key to this was finding somebody online who had the parts and could take them off the machine. TB Typewriters Plus, thank you very much for letting me buy these parts from you. And also, of course, you really can't do this easily at all. Not that it was easy, but you couldn't really do it at all without the service manual that tells you how to take apart and put back together the whole typewriter, really. And so here you go. This is an Olivetti Studio 44, and it is back in nearly 100% shape. It has the carriage return arm now, and I'm really happy because I like the typeface on this, and I'm going to be using this more. I have the other blue Underwood Olivetti Studio 44 that also is a great machine. I think both of these are a good model, to a good medium-sized portable, I think. If you really like the styling of Olivetti and you like the touch of it, I happen to think, personally, for the manual portable Olivettis, I think the Studio 44s were the best. That's my opinion. You can differ on that. But I really like the touch on these machines, the styling, and actually they're engineered pretty well. I'm pretty amazed. I do think that pivot block here for the carriage return arm is probably a weak point of the design. And so I'm going to be bringing this typewriter to some type-ins this year. And I hope to see you at some future type-ins as well. And thank you very much for your many emails and letting me know how concerned you were about my hip surgery. It's getting much better. It still has pain. The tissues and all the muscles are healing up. I go see the doctor tomorrow, and he may be taking some stitches out. So anyway, I'm getting better, and I'm glad I was able to get this video done, and especially thank you, Ted Monk, for letting me buy one of your manuals. Thank you, TB Typewriters Plus, for letting me buy the parts that I needed to get this typewriter fixed. And as always, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.